we do best at the Blue Collar Success Group.
Good morning, Blue Collar. How is everybody doing this morning? See if we can get any smiling faces. I got a thumbs up from a couple boardrooms here. Okay. Let's see those smiling faces here. I know I got most of my East Coast people on the call here for your 8 a.m. For me, it is 5 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. So you guys have the pleasure of having early version of me, but I'm going to try to shake off the cobwebs here and give you something exciting to think about this morning. Okay, let's go ahead and go through a couple little shop business items while we're letting the stragglers get in here. So, I know we like to blow through this real quick, but unmute and chat's on the bottom left there. Make sure if I say, hey, go ahead and unmute and talk to me for a minute. Just press that little audio button. If you guys do have access to your video, please check that now as well so we can see each other. I just mentioned how to rename yourself, but there's the instructions, the three little dots, upper right-hand corner. First, last name, and company, please, and thank you. The chat's pretty self-explanatory, but go ahead and get that set up right now. We will be using that quite a bit this morning. And if you should so feel the need, go ahead and use your little emoticons there to make sure you highlight things other people say or things that we're talking about. And let's go ahead and get into our topic this morning, everybody. So this is Profit Driven for Technicians. Again, good morning. 5 o'clock here, Pacific Standard Time. 8 o'clock for a lot of you guys on Eastern, and everybody else should be somewhere in the middle. Our topic today is decisions, decisions, decisions. So we're going to start out, if you guys don't mind, and we're going to go ahead and do a quick poll. So Sydney's going to put a poll up on the screen. And I'd like to try to get 100% participation, if you don't mind. And the question is, how many decisions do you think we make in a normal day? Let's go ahead and start to get some answers up there. Take your best shot at this, and let's see who truly understands random statistics. How many decisions do we make in a normal day? Okay. Got about 12 of 22 participating. Come on, let's get full participation. Some of you guys in your boardroom, somebody's got to man the computer for us this morning. How many decisions do we make in a normal day? Got a few more responses we're waiting on here. Got 15 of you now. There we go. Few more responses. And don't just choose the one everybody else seems to be choosing. Go ahead and really take your best guess on this. Couple more, you guys here. Let's at least get up into the high 80s participation. Who hasn't done the poll yet? Any more? Any more? Going once? Going twice? All right, we'll go ahead and shut that down, Sydney, and leave it right there for a minute. So we have 61% of you guys say that we make between 1,000 and 5,000 decisions in a day. The next highest is at 22%, 10,000 to 50,000 decisions. Interesting. Here's the answer. Roughly 35,000 decisions are made daily by each and every one of us. These run the gamut of small to medium, medium to large, automatic to intentional decisions. But man, that's a lot of deciding, right? An actual 2012 Cornell study actually says that 226 decisions in a day are just related to food alone. It's pretty crazy, right? So when we're thinking about the concept of how many of these decisions are going on in a given day, think of it this way. Anybody ever been in court before? Ever had to be in a courtroom? Hopefully God willing, none of us ever have to, but those of you who have, even judges fall into this category. Statistically, by the end of a day, a judge is more likely to take the easier path or the path of least resistance just because of decision fatigue. Then you've got a man by the name of Steve Jobs. Everybody know who Steve Jobs is? He was known and infamous for wearing the same thing every single day for one main reason. And that reason was to keep decision fatigue from bogging him down to the things that are more important in a given day. So he wanted to take that off the table completely and just wear the same thing every single day. And then you've got decisions on an empty gas tank. The more decisions we make, the more challenging they become, right? If we're not fueling ourselves, that tank gets empty. It gets harder and harder to make decisions. So what we're going to be talking about this morning is how to simplify this concept and how to get some of our freedom back in our day with all the things that we need to get done day to day. The question we need to first understand is, where does this show up in our game of daily service calls? This is Profit Driven for Technicians. We're running calls. We're out there doing our job, doing our thing. So here's your first chat-in opportunity. I want you to chat in for me, and I want you to answer what areas of our job in particular would decision fatigue pop up and make things harder than they actually need to be. So what areas of our job day to day would we have decision fatigue that's going to make things harder and harder to make decisions in a given day? Can you guys chat in and give me some responses? I would much appreciate it. Okay, we got troubleshooting. Thank you, Emerald Heating. Troubleshooting would definitely cause a lot of decision fatigue, especially on those more complicated ones. What else? What areas of our jobs would cause decision fatigue? Quotes or options, 100%. How many we're offering, what types of quotes, where they're coming from. Pricing, I would agree with that, O'Leary. Depending on how you guys are structured. Are you flat rate? Are you time and material? Building 3 quality options. Yes, Southport, definitely. We got more options, more recommendations. Okay. Johnny Electrical says figuring out the proper solutions. Okay. True Tech, taking your time could create decision fatigue. Interesting. All right. I appreciate all those responses. How about doing a thorough evaluation of the home system? Could that cause extra decision fatigue? Or the dreaded communication with dispatch? I mean, I know none of you guys have that problem, right? You guys all have the best relationships with your dispatchers, I'm sure. How about running your process correctly and thoroughly at 3 p.m. on a Friday versus 8 a.m. on a Monday? Anybody ever had the Friday 3 p.m.? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just blow through this one real quick because, oh man, I got a date at 5. I got somewhere I got to be, and I already got an hour drive back home. Anybody ever dealt with that before? Come on now. How about the getting home and hearing the dreaded, what do you want to do for dinner? After you've made an entire day of decisions at work. So that's us. That's what we're dealing with, right? But how about our clients? What impact does decision fatigue have on our clients day to day? Before we ever get there, what's happening behind the scenes before they've called? Ready for this? What about when it's our fault? So some of you guys are thinking, it's never my fault, right? I can't cause decision fatigue with my clients. But what about when it is our fault? Could it be maybe sometimes we give too many options for them to consider? Could that cause some issues? How about the lack of proper education and giving the why behind what the actual correct solution should be? Has anybody ever done that before? We just failed to give a strong enough why we're recommending what we're recommending. Could that cause too many unneeded decisions within a client's mind? And then in a little bit here, we're going to talk about something called the open loop. When we create too much of an open loop and not a straight line from one thing to another, how that can cause that dreaded fatigue. As a tech, our primary responsibility is to serve the client at the highest level, right? Or at least that's what we're told. Hopefully, all of us believe that to be true. But think of this, the client cannot resolve their issue without buying something from us, right? Parts, service, new stuff, replacements. They can't resolve that issue without buying something from us. So they have to make a series of decisions along the way. Would you agree? We often think it's just one decision at the end. We create the solution, we put it in front of them. All they have to do is say yes or no. It's not always that simple, though. They're thinking about everything going on in their life, everything prior to you, how long they've lived here, what's breaking in the house, things they've wanted to fix but can't quite afford, unnecessary medical bills, things that have come up, and now this is the icing on the cake. Decisions, decisions, decisions. Think about how many that they have to make before you ever arrive. Our job's to give them the information that they need to make the best decision that's for them, not for us. Would you agree? The client making the decision to buy is directly related to our words, our actions, our impressions on the call. Technically speaking, this is sales. For those of you who have been to our Tech Academy, we talk about what sales is. It's getting somebody emotionally, intellectually involved in a product, service, or idea. Products and services are pretty straightforward. We all know what those are. We all know what we're offering at this point, right? But what ideas might I need to get my client involved in? Go ahead and chat in, or if one of you or two of you would be as so brave, so it's not just me talking the entire time. So chat in or unmute. What information might a client need in order to make a good buying decision? Can we get some responses up in here? And again, I'll take an unmute too. If anybody would like to just give me a suggestion there verbally. What information might a client need in order to make a good buying decision? What kind of thoughts do we have here on that? Okay, Southport says education of the work needed. I would agree with that. They need long-term solutions. Thank you for that. The why behind it. All right, Gianni Electrical. Thank you. Definitely need to know the why. Let's see what else we got here. Sweetwater says the benefits of the work that's being done and the what of the problem that's going to be solved. Okay. Southport says trust. We got to have trust. Yep. O'Leary, detailed options and cost. True Tech says our products, how it can actually make their life better. I would agree with that. And then Chuck's iPad. Thank you, Chuck. We didn't get to rename you this morning, but Chuck's iPad says benefits of our products. Okay. Southport, how it will affect them in the future. These are all incredible ideas, everybody. And then what's in it for them? I actually like that one. So thank you, Sweetwater. What's in it for them? I think sometimes we forget and we get caught up in the hustle and bustle of we're the experts. We know what's right for them, right? They just need to hear us. We've evaluated it. We've diagnosed it. But how is this going to benefit their life? What's in it for them? What are they getting? So thank you for all those responses. Here's something to consider. When you put the client first, you do not need to use pressure tactics to get them to buy. I would never assume any of you guys who are blue collar members and run the systems that we run would ever do this, but I'm probably pretty sure at some point or another you've either met somebody in the industry or worked with somebody that maybe didn't last very long in your organization that did this, right? Show of hands. Has anybody ever seen somebody that's a little less than honest out there in the field doing this job? We don't need to use pressure tactics. That's the incredible thing about how far and evolved we've become a society now, is people are getting more and more educated. They're getting smarter and smarter. We've got AI that's come on here now. You can search for pretty much anything. We don't need to pressure people. They already have enough information, and they're smart enough to listen and know what's best for them in their personal life and in their situation. We simply need to take the time to give them all the facts and the information and the why behind things so that they can make the decision to buy on their own. Would you guys agree with that? Let's all decide today that if we keep their best interests in mind at all times, good things will naturally just come to us. We'll be taken care of at all times. Be genuinely interested in helping them and not our wallet. Sometimes we handle this just plain wrong. So let's talk about the whole "you need a new one" concept. I'm going to stop share for a second. I want to talk about this concept called open loop. In our job, you guys would all probably agree that depending on age of equipment, age of home, where the discussion goes, sometimes it goes to, ooh, is it repair or is it replace time? What types of options should I be offering? If I'm a selling tech and we don't have separate comfort advisors in our company, oh no, when is it time to talk about replacement? How do we set that lead? How do we bring it up? If it's us selling it, do I go straight to repair? Do I go straight to replace? So I want you to picture an open loop here. Everything starts from our service, which is the fix, right? We get called out, something's broken, it needs to be fixed. Great. If we need to talk about replacement though, because we're seeing far past what the customer is expecting at this point, and we're thinking, this thing really just needs to be replaced. The problem is, if all of a sudden we go straight to the customer after our thorough evaluation, our diagnostic, and we go, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, it's time to replace this thing. Anybody have ever done that? Anybody ever gotten the dreaded, ooh, yeah, I need to think about it, after we've spent an hour to an hour and a half in that home going through things? We created this open loop. We created that. Somewhere along the line, we failed to complete a step thoroughly. We failed to do certain things. And what tends to happen is, because of this open loop, our customers have way too many questions. They have far too many decisions that they now need to make, and they become so overwhelmed that it's just not the right time to make this decision. They need to think about it. They need to sleep on it. They need to go talk to some people and validate what they just heard. Does that ever happen? I need to think about it, right? So what I want you guys to consider is, instead of creating this open loop, creating more of a straight line approach. And we're going to do this using our active listening skills. From the second we walk through that door, what are they telling us? What are we hearing? As we start to ask them some questions about their home, their lifestyle, their comfort needs, what are they saying? Are we listening? We should be doing things like asking good questions from the start. Not just any question, but good questions. In our Tech Academy, we talk about the 4 general questions, the 4 specific questions, so that we can get them to start talking about the things that are most important to them. what their pain points are, where their needs lie. And then if we're doing our jobs right, how about repeating back to them the things that they're saying? So, Mrs. Jones, what I just heard you say was, if I understood you correctly, this is what's most important for you here today. See, getting from service to replace is not so difficult if they come to their own conclusion and they're using their own words. Have you ever heard the saying, people don't argue with their own information? Anybody ever heard that? Let's just say it's more difficult to argue with your own words as a human being. I'm sure some of you guys have done that in your own life. When you've come to your own conclusion about something, it's locked in. It ain't going nowhere. That decision's been made. So rather than leaving them with a bunch of questions, failing to give them the why behind replace should even be something to discuss today, listen to the things they have to say. Ask good questions. Repeat back to them what you're hearing. Make sure that they're solidified in the things that they're telling you. The whole "you need a new one" concept, it breaks the client's expectations because they called you for the fix. Their mindset at that point was not in replace mode yet. If it was, the lead would have come through dispatch a little differently, wouldn't it? Wouldn't the lead have come through, I'm looking for bids or quotes on, could you please send somebody out to quote me this? But that's not what the lead came in as. It came in as, it's broke, I need it fixed. Right? We know it needs to be replaced if it's, let's say, 15 plus years old. The problem is they called somebody to get back to normal as soon as possible for as little monetary contribution as possible. They have all these questions in their head. And if we're getting too many of the I need to think about it, maybe possible we just need to slow down a little bit and understand that they have all these decisions just like we do. And let's take our time and let's educate. Let's show the why. Let's use our active listening skills. And let's ask the right questions. And then I hope this isn't happening to you guys individually, but you know how important reputation is in the industry nowadays, right? Anybody ever gotten a 1-star review after you left the call, even though you thought you did something right? Well, the customer only wanted to fix it. And that's what I talked to him about. Those are the options I gave him. They were very clear. And yet you still got a 1-star review because something broke afterwards or unnecessary recall happened. That's what I mean by the open loop is if we know it's time, we need to spend the time with them to give the why behind this. Reminder that you aren't the customer. It's not our wallet. It's not our money. It's not our bank account. You have your decisions you need to make in a given day, and they have theirs. So we need to keep our responsibilities where they actually belong. It's not on us to make decisions for them. And I just realized I didn't reshare my screen, so I apologize. It's about them. It's not about us. Would we agree that we need to provide clients information and education that when we do so, we give them the ability to make a good decision? Just chat in yes or no. If we provide them information and education, do we give them the ability to make a good decision? That's what I want to see. Over. Yes, we got an overpopulation of yeses there. I like it. Here's the problem though. When we withhold information or keep things to ourselves because we think they already get it or they already understand, which 9 times out of 10 they don't get the chance to act in their own best interest. Has anybody ever had a client or customer that just kind of goes with the flow and they're just agreeing with everything? And you've got that vibe like, I don't know that this is really going to go my way today. They just seem to be agreeing with everything. A lot of times people don't want to feel silly. They don't understand, and you're not taking the time to slow down and give them the why behind things. So they're just like, yeah, thank you for that. and they're gonna go find their needs, their wants, their education from someone else who's gonna slow down and speak their language. Fact, it's important that as professionals, we don't get in their way by clouding facts with money. The price is the price, guys. We don't set the price, their home does. Some of you guys have been through class and you know that we teach this, right? We don't set the price, their home and their needs and wants set the price. So if we've ever had this problem getting stuck in this mentality that, man, that's a lot of, even I wouldn't spend money on that and I wouldn't do this right now. We're not the ones setting it. Our business, our company, yeah, we might be flat rate, we might have a price book, the task costs what it costs, but their home is what's dictating it. Age of the equipment, age of the home, the answers to the questions that we're asking are dictating the solutions that we put in front of them, right? So if that's the case, we shouldn't cloud the facts. The facts are the facts, like we were doing on this poster here. If it seems to be a better time to consider replacement, that's what the needs of the home are. Let's have a conversation with the customer about that. How about what tools would we need to better communicate replacement on an actual repair call? There are two pieces of information the client needs. How much will it cost to keep blank? How much longer might it last? They got to weigh this, just part of those multiple decisions that they're going through in a given day too. So chat in for a second. What resources could we use to educate a client in a repair/replace situation? What resources could we use to educate the client in a repair/replace situation? Let's get some suggestions up in the chat box here. What kind of resources do we got going on? All right, so Southport says we've got some inspection forms. Okay, I would agree. That's a great resource to show some visual aids there. Sweetwater, average lifespan of a specific product. Okay, so we want to talk about the product and how long it's supposed to last. Path Electric says photos of what was found. I would agree with that, especially if your client isn't going with you up into the attic or down into the basement. We have to bring something back to show them what we saw and what we found, right? A checklist in the age of units. Thank you, O'Leary. Okay. Oh, Southport, my favorite word combination. Show and tell. Show and tell. We got another. Okay, we got two show and tells there. And past experiences. Thank you. We need to be able to explain true cost of ownership. We need to be able to explain the typical lifespan of a particular system or product. We need to be able to ask the right questions to get them to say in their own words whether it might be time to discuss the cost difference, the savings, especially if we're talking maybe HVAC and or energy saver type products, some of our tankless options on the plumbing side. How can we serve them at the highest level and get them what they need? We know that at a certain age range, things start to break down, right? Sweetwater, thank you. Do you know when you last replaced this? That's one of those questions in the beginning, right? Hey, Mrs. Jones, do you happen to know the average lifespan of this particular system here? Instead of us just telling them, asking, do you happen to know? What led you to believe that the repair or the fix today might be the best solution? Let's let them talk. Let's hear where they're coming from. Here's something I want you to consider. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So some of you guys just mentioned show and tell. If we're getting into tight spaces that they're not going to follow us on, being able to bring photos and videos, we're in a new age now, guys. Almost all of our software can upload, can take the things right from our devices. Why aren't we snapping multiple photos, different angles on every call? Some of you might be. Some of you might just be taking one or two. We can delete that thing from the camera roll when we're done after it's uploaded to the software, but we should be taking pictures of everything we notice. Any signs that the customer might need to be made aware of so that they can make the proper decision. Would you agree? How about charts, graphs? Did you guys know that in our own blue collar tool vault, we have a tool, and this tool allows you to input any trade, any equipment that you want it for. And you can edit this in your own way that you can add age of equipment, cost of repair, and when it gets to a certain range that you dictate, it will show the customer visually a swing that, well, what do you think, Mrs. Jones? Here, I have a tool here that we might want to take a look at based on your current age of equipment right now and the potential cost of the repair that we'd be looking at. I mean, here's what the chart says. What decision do you think we should be discussing here today? Any of us ever do that? Instead of telling them it might be time to replace, actually showing something that says, so what do you think we should do? We have tools for that. Go get into your vault and check that out if you haven't done so, because it's something we all should be using. Always be prepared. Always be prepared. Have all the tools and resources you need to effectively communicate all the facts and the whys behind things with your client. It always starts with check your mindset, as you guys know. Then we need to check our appearance. We need to set a proper intention that is free of expectation. I'll say that one more time. We need to set a proper intention that is free of expectation. If our mindset is tuned into the right frequency, we've cleared all the baggage. We've cleared everything that's happened from the previous day, previous call. We're thinking in a positive manner. That's going to come off. Our clients are going to feel that vibe. They're going to feel like they made a solid choice today in calling us. They're going to answer our questions a little more openly. They're going to give us a little bit more detail and information that we're seeking. Our appearance. Are we making a great first impression? What's that statistic? Do people not judge us in the first second to 2 seconds nowadays from what they see? Are they judging us as we're walking up to the door? I think we all know they are. The reality is we cannot control the actual outcome, but we can control our part in it, our participation within the scenario that's happening. Remember, less decisions are needed due to being prepared and having our proper mental capacity where it needs to be. We can serve at a higher level. After we've handled that, we need to build trust. Like, trust, need, and budget. These are all buying influencers. When we come into a home, we're a stranger. Nobody wants to start opening up and working with a stranger right away. But as we start to find common ground, things that are interesting in the home, things that we can relate to genuinely, we have conversations about those things. We ask them about their family, their kids, their dogs, their leisure activities. Those of you guys who have been to our academy, we talk about form. We can talk about family, that's the F. Occupation, that's the O. Recreation, that's what they do for fun, that's the R. And the M is material possessions, things that we see around the home. As we do more of this, they start to like us a little bit more, and we start to earn their trust. Then we start to find out their actual needs, not what we think their needs are, but what their actual needs are per them. And then this dictates the budget. That's why I keep saying it's not us that's setting the price, right? It's their home and it's their needs and wants that are setting the price. If we start coming at things from that mental space, I'm telling you, closing deals becomes a lot easier because it's no longer about us. It's about the things that they said, and the options we created were singularly based on the responses to the questions that we asked. Remember, we're there to serve. It's not about what we know, it's about what they believe. We may have 10, 15, 20 plus years of experience, and we know, but that doesn't matter. What they believe matters. They have the power to kick us out. They have the power to get 5 other bids right behind you, right? So the question is, in that repair replace possible situation, do they believe they need a new blank? Do they believe they need a new water heater, a panel, a furnace?
Okay. Will you do me a favor?
Adults do not argue with their own information. Is replacement your idea or is it theirs? Is it your decision or is it theirs?
Stop recording. It'll end with
Once we secure the work, we're going to talk repair for a second. Highly competitive market, right? Once we secure the repair, which we should always do first and foremost, I used to call it with my guys back in the day, put a shovel in the ground. Anybody know what anybody ever heard that concept about putting a shovel in the ground? What that means is right now they're in the service fix it mindset. That's their little security blanket is I called you out to fix this thing. So if we have the opportunity and we know they're in that mindset of repair, secure the repair first. Then we can have further conversation as we start to get in. That's what I mean by put a shovel in the ground. We're planting the flag now, and we're going to get that first signature, and we're going to let them know, no problem, we got this, and then we're going to have a little bit more further conversation. Just because we secured the repair doesn't necessarily mean we're doing it, but it does get us into a position where we can have further discussion about whether that's in their best interest. Replacement education could come before or after repair options sometimes. And this assumes that the conversation has not yet been brought up about replacement. Repair, replace, repair, replace. That is the question, right? We need to bring up that conversation. If we haven't used a tool yet, we haven't asked them about previous repairs, how long they've lived in the home, what their intentions are with the home. But we can secure that repair. We could say something like, all right, Ashley, so I want to make sure I supply you with all the facts. And of course, the why behind some of the solutions that I'm going to be talking to you about today. As I said, I'm here to make the repair. My company has a tool. We could take a look at it together if you don't mind. So this is a great entry for you to bring in that chart tool that you've created. Maybe it's a great time to bring in a photo or a video, a before and an after. Maybe it's a great time to bring in something from the manufacturer that says what the age of equipment is when it should be considered replacement. But we could say, hey, I have a tool here that helps clients ensure they're making the best decision regarding their home. Would it be okay if I showed it to you? Something as simple as that. At this point, we could sit down and we could say, hey, just so you know, if you'd like to still consider the replacement option, we can definitely take some time and put those options together as well. Or if we have a turnover model, we can definitely set a time, maybe even today, to have one of my comfort advisors come out and give you those set of options too. That way you're fully informed and you have all the facts and you can make the decision that works the best for you. Step 5, take action. Fulfill their decision for either repair or replacement by either giving them replacement options for you selling techs or setting the lead if we're in that model. So here's where I'd like to leave you guys today. We're getting close to our time. If we could do one final chat in, what I'd like to know is your takeaways from some of this information today. So what will you decide to add to your game today based on the topic that we've discussed thus far? What are you guys individually willing to commit to and take away from this that maybe you weren't doing as much as you should, or maybe that you weren't doing at all, that you might want to consider throwing into your game? Can we get some suggestions up in the chat here? What were your takeaways? I would definitely appreciate your thoughts on this. Okay, Sweetwater says closing the loop. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
What else do we got? Simplify and answer questions. Thank you, Gianni Electrical. There we go. We have any others? See a few of you guys typing there. Active listening. Yes, Southport, thank you. What are they actually saying? Put the client and their needs first. Thank you for that. The replacement chart. All right, Mark Johnson Plumbing.
What's your name?
Go get in that vault and get that thing created today. You could have it right there on your tablet, right? See, Actionair says have answers before conversations. And Southport, more pictures. Awesome. Appreciate all of the participation today. So, real quick before I get to my recap, just a reminder, and Sydney might drop it in to the chat as well to get credit for the course. Make sure you're logged into your Vault, and while you're in there, you can download that chart as well. But go ahead and go to Training Resources, scroll down to Profit Driven, Technicians, and do the quiz to get full credit for today. Now, with that being said, what did we talk about today? We talked about the multitude of decisions that we have in a given day, right? What was it? 35,000 in a single day, 226 just in food alone. Too many decisions causes decision fatigue. And then we started talking about it's not just us that has the decisions. It's our client and all the decisions they need to make day in and day out, especially all the decisions that have to do with things about what just broke, what they need fixed, what they need replaced before we ever arrive, right? So we started discussing ways to help our clients make better decisions, closing the loop as we just talked about, using our active listening skills, repeating back to them things they said, right? People do not argue with their own information. We talked about how to navigate the repair replace situation a little bit, using show and tell, charts, graphs, a tool that we have right now at our fingertips that we may or may not be using. How to be professional and make it about them, not about us. So as we leave here this morning, this particular topic is kind of near and dear to me because we need to slow down sometimes. We need to remember that it's not just about what's going on in our lives. This is a big decision for our clients. These are things they most of the time weren't expecting. And if we can take that time to work with them, we're going to have a far better situation in the long haul. So I would like to thank you guys for your time this morning. And we'll see you on the next one. I hope you have a great rest of the week. It is Tuesday, so we got a good amount of the week left to go out there and kill it. So I appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time.
Accelerate your path to success.